Welcome to my channel. My name is Valerio and today we're gonna review the Power Dagwon. This is the new diecast model by Sentinel belonging to the line Metamorphose, and this is the second within the series Command of Braves Dagwon. The first one was the Fire Dagwon, and this is a transformable robot that is gonna combine with the previously reviewed one. Now, I bought this one from Amazon Japan, and for the life of me I cannot remember the price. I think around $200, but I might be wrong. So if you see that you want to buy this wine, I highly recommend that you start to hunt for it right now, because the first one of the two is quite hard to find in this moment. And I have friends that weren't able to get it and they only have one of the two combiner out of it. So presentation out of the way. Sorry, I forgot to say this is the first transforming Brave by Sentinel, because the Genesis Gaugiger belonging to the line Amakuni Kizin, well, doesn't transform. It's a ready-made version, and King Jader as well. I think is more Amakuni Kizin versus more Sentinel. Anyway, let's start with accessories, and sorry for a bit long presentation. As you can see on the table, there is a tiny bit of stuff. Okay, and let's start as usual with the manuals. So two color manual that explain you quite precisely and in a nice simple way how to transform the robot and how to combine it. Now there are two set of instruction, the one with extra part and the perfect transformation one. I did use the extra parts out of it because why not? But if you guys are super fan of the perfect transformation, well, you should go with it. Now we have display stands. This is the large kind out of it. Sentinel has two of them, the small and the large, and this is the large. Now this is an attachment for the display stand. These are two diecast rods that are useful to keep the giant cannon that you see on the back below. As you can see, you can attach it and you can rotate it. Now we see this drill. This drill can be changed within the Power Dagwon instead of a power loader. Sorry, I don't know the English name out of it. Anyway, you can change the final bits out of it. Now we have two articulated hands. So honestly, I think that Sentinel actually has know exactly how to do articulated hands, and most of the time they're pretty great, and this is no exception to it. So I mean, I do understand why sometimes they put fixed hand poses, but these are great. So no complaint about it. Well done, well articulated. You can do whatever you want with them. So these are two extra sets of skirts in case you're not satisfied with the perfect transformation one. These are a bit longer and gives a tiny bit better proportion. And these are the two fixed hands that allow him to keep the swords in his kind of like more known sword, which is like a fence, more known face, which is like fencer-like stance. Now we're gonna continue with the other page, and this is Fire Dag, as far as I can remember his name. This is a non-transforming version, but it's quite possible and super cute. I think it is like 1 inch, maybe a tiny bit more, maybe a tiny bit less. And yes, you can pose it, which is cool, but it doesn't transform. The transforming version out of it is within the first release. The Fire Dagwon. This is just an extra one for display. Now, if you want to swap his hand and you feel like these hands are not enough, you can put within his cross arms among his chest position, which is the one that is famous for, and you can just do a part swap. Now, this is an extra back pants for the Super Fire Dagwon. This is an extra adapter for the display stand. This is a 11 inches giant cannon that I know that technically should transform within a robot, and this is non-transformable, but I actually prefer this to a really gimmicky kind of robot that then wouldn't look as well. And this thing is massive, like honestly big and not too heavy, which I adore, because an accessory like this will make flop everything. And this is just another bit of the final bit of the Power Fire Dagwon, as was the drill. And now we're done with accessories. And let's start to look our Power Dagwon. As you can see, it's quite cute, nothing fantastic, but I mean, not too bad. And yes, there are better transformers that do this job, but this is not a transformer, this is more a super robot. And now I achieved this transformation with the extra piece that adds a bit of extra stability inside of it, but you can also go with the perfect transformation. Depends what you prefer. Obviously, if you do into this version and then you want to transform it, then you have to remember that you need to remove a piece from inside of it and put it inside. a different, I mean, you have to put inside this box if you don't want to lose it. As you can see, there is a bit of articulation within the arm, within the hydraulic arms. Guys, I think is this a power loader? This is the English name out of it. I'm really blanking out. Anyway, let's start with the transformation. I will show the transformation from power loader to actually robot. It is a bit speed up, so don't worry about it. It is quite easy, absolutely below masterpiece transformer level, more in line with Chag. Still, I don't think you can, I mean, yeah, you can kind of guessing it, as long as you know a couple of things, and out, yes, to looks. At the end of it, you can just guess 99% out of it. Anyway, as you can see, there is not really, I mean, it's not really part forming per se, because the arms are carried within the wheels or within the tracks. But I mean, let's say that super robot transformation are always more out of fantasy, so, and still not having to be transformer, they allow for a tiny bit of really fantasy out of it and free interpretation on how to transform it. Anyway, now okay, the thread, you separe them, and now clearly these are two legs, and you just pull down the beads, pull down the shoes. Very intuitive, very fun. And I will mention right now, this is a pretty heavy pieces, especially by being Sentinel, that is not famous for high usage of diecast, but this gives a super sensation of quality. It is completely painted. Unfortunately, it doesn't look great in video. Like if you saw the Watafa video of the review, you can see that it looks pretty crappy, honestly, but it is fully painted and it looks way better live. It all depends on what kind of filter gets used when we do the editing. And I try to choose one that makes sense to show up the red as I see in real life. But obviously, if you see different video, this will have different color, because red is a notoriously terrible color to show on camera. Now, after we explain with the secret, we have to separate. So this kind of reminds me a tiny bit of the transformation of the SRX Riobot, but it is not as so super part forming kind of things. It's not fully Lego. There are pieces that actually folds and unfolds, more origami like, which is standard transformation. Okay, but it is very easy. It is quite intuitive, other than like couple of things, and nothing that cannot be done with a manual. Plus the paint is pretty resistant, because I had him fall out of camera, and it still came out unscratched. But don't worry if you're stressed. I know friends and collectors that actually are pretty stressed about transformation. If you take your time, it's gonna come out pretty good. Sorry, I do some bits of it out of the camera, because it is a bit hard to do it, because you see my hands there, but actually my arms are fully stretched behind. Anyway, let's flip the fist, and ta-da! You have to do exactly the same thing on the other arm. We put the heads, and now we are ready to see our power Dagwon in all its glory and measurements. And now, while the screen is actually loading, we're gonna start to look at our dude fully transformed, and it is 8 inches, give it or take it, a bit more. As usual, it's kind of hard to give, depends where you measure it and how straight you keep him. There is content of diecast inside of it, some part are even exposed. It is fairly heavy. It is quite well balanced, even though it has the power loader arms on the side. I think the power loader is the name of the armor of Aliens. Anyway, sorry, I'm changing subject. Anyhow, you see, it looks good, it looks powerful, it is quite wide shoulder. It will look okay within a Soul of Chogokin collection, even though this is more 90s, as Soul of Chogokin is way more toward the 80s, but still there are a bunch of Braves there. And well painted. There is also the tiny half gimmick of the half transparent piece on the arms, and then there is a metallic behind and looks a bit holographic, which I totally love it. Now we're gonna look a tiny bit at the articulation. Still remember, this is it transform and it combines, so we can expect some weird articulation, but not like the most articulated dude ever. Anyway, the head is the thing that I like the least, because you see, it's like the neck is on a tiny hinge and it completely detached, which is not great. Now the arm can go over shoulder height, and so there is really tiny bit of butterfly, guys. Maybe you can extrude the shoulder more to have a tiny bit more, but it's nothing to write home about. It's not as bombastic as I would expect. The wings move a tiny bit. The head, it is what it is. You can open the mouth of the beast on his chest, and you can see the inside is painted. By the way, this guy is amazingly painted. But I don't know why the body doesn't click. So if you have it and your body clicks, please explain me how to do it. So there is a waist swivel, nothing too bad, but I think you can raise it and reach a bit more. Still it moves and is already way better than the gut type from Goodsmith Company, which are pretty terrible articulation wise. Now full closure of the arm. Now in order to move the legs, we have to open the skirt. And now use two arms because the joints are really hard. These are all friction joints. I would prefer ratchet joint. This is what I do normally prefer because they can stay there for longer. And now you can do the split over one side and the other one. Very hard joint, so don't worry about it, keeping it more challenging poses. Now you can see you can bend the knee, but if you're a tiny bit but if you remember the transformation, if you close that panel, you can almost arrive it to close it, and it's not really cheating. It's just using the engineering. Now the top of the feet can move side to side, still with the heel. Same on the other side. The hands, yes, the perfect transformation hand, obviously you can swap it with the properly articulated one. Now the power loader armor, it is on a ratchet joint, and there is various possibility of moving it around. Unfortunately, I really wish also the shoulder was on a ratchet joint because this stuff is heavy. So he's ratchet, but also the other one should be ratchet. Anyway, it can move side, and we know after the Kaiser that they can really do a job with ratchet joints whenever they want. Now we're gonna do a bit of comparison, and then we're gonna build the super Fire Dagwon, which is the final combination of Fire Dagwon and him. Now for comparison, as usual, Lego Dude. Lego Dude is really tiny, no surprise out of it. This is like 8 Lego Dudes, if I'm not wrong. Now with the Fire Dagwon, so I want to say they are equally well done product. One is more wider, more broad shouldered. I'm speaking the Power Dagwon, but the articulation of the Fire Dagwon is way better. So depends what you prefer to do it, but I think they look pretty good between them. Now this is a Diton SMP that I had laying around, so decided to give a different comparison. And now the King Jader that we reviewed a few weeks ago, pretty high. And now just for conclusion, not for conclusion, and now we're gonna go in the transformation that I will not show because it's not particularly easy and you have to be pretty with the hands close to the body. I tried to do it on camera and it didn't really work out. Plus the instruction give you the terrible idea of doing the transformation over the display stand. So with the two protagonists already plugged onto him, I don't recommend it. Do it out of the display stand and then you can attach it to later. And ta-da, we have our robot, Super Fire Dagwon. And what can I say? Transformation, not hard at all, actually pretty easy. Altogether, it looks as supposed to look like, kind of. Why kind of? Because they cannot change the proportion, and while Sentinel is famous for sculpt and proportion, the sculpt is pretty on point, but the proportion looks like you have really small biceps. And if you look at the animation, proportion are way different. This is the problem of all the Brave, other than Gao Geiger, is that because one detach and kind of become the shoes become huge, and there is no way around it. Plus this, yes, as a backpack, the Power Dagwon, which is okay. It is how it's supposed to transform. However, you can detach it without any problem, and you will gain into articulation, possibility of moving, and overall you will load a tiny bit less weight over the legs, and I will show you how it is without it. Anyway, looks good. The only problem is that really if you do a transforming one, you cannot fix proportion. So I'm waiting for the Makuni Kizin to show the non-transforming one. Still better than SMP. Anyway, we see it out of it. It's stable without the display stand, so don't worry about it. I left the display stand adapter between the legs, so it looks like he has a tiny bit of a, something in the middle of the legs. But you can see it is stable. It still looks good, but still the giant boots out of it, there is no way around it. Honestly, I was speaking with a friend and I told to him, you know, I wish there was a tiny bit more parts forming. So because if you beef up the arms and the tights, it will kind of change the overall, but they decide to go for more of a perfect transformation. By the way, I did attach the skirt size over him, and well, they adjust a tiny bit extra. As I said before, just remove it from the I mean, I recommend to remove the from the back, so you will never see it. You just keep it into the box and you have a perfectly fine robot without it, and you will never know that it's on the back. I know this is how it's supposed to transform, but still, articulation wise, I will not show because it gets very, very limited, and like every combiner, especially this one, it doesn't really add too much because you cannot move it too much. It becomes pretty limited, let's put it like this. Plus, it will get stressed by a lot of weight. Anyway, comparison with SMP might gain. Say that to keep an active with King Jader, to keep an active position in this combination version, it is a bit of a stretch on the ratchet, and this is with Black Getter from Blitzway. Size-wise, it gains quite a bit, so this is a plus, but still proportion. Anyway, now after I'm done with conclusion, very quickly. Okay, pro and cons. On the cons, well, there is not enough parts forming, but this is really a personal kind of impression about it. Possibility of power Dagwon is not bombastic as it was with fire Dagwon. It's still good, but nothing incredible, and the possibility of super fire Dagwon is pretty limited. Said so, as a pro, it is pretty stable once combined. It has a nice weight to it, a nice heft. It has a proper size once it is combined. It is extremely well done, paint job. It's great. Accessory, I love the fact that they didn't put the sword and the cannon as transforming robot, because otherwise this would look a bit clunky, exactly as it is for the SMP case. But other than that, it is quite fun, the transformation as well. So on my case, if you're not too committed to the Gattai line by Good Smile Company, I would actually buy it. It looks good. I thought it looks way smaller than the one from Good Smile Company, but paint, material, even possibility is superior to the Good Smile Company one. And plus, to have a cannon, you don't have to buy an extra transforming robot as well. So the cost, even if it looks a bit more expensive, in the end is going to be less expensive than the full version Super Fire, the one by Good Smile Company, that they will do. Now, this one of the SMP depends how is your collection. On my hand, I'm pretty happy to have it. It looks a bit better than what I was expecting, especially separated. I will keep them separated, but they look pretty good. And for me, is everything. Bye guys, have a nice day.